I also wanted to make it a habit of reading the writings of women and women who think critically and for themselves and who aim to help other women think the same way. You know, this is why I'm doing this Thought Criminal series. And I wanted to get into Jennifer Bielik and her brilliant work regarding transsexualism and transhumanism, and just kind of having that that backdrop so that we can kind of focus on to kind of see what's happening in the world today and why is it happening. And I think she's so brilliant in the book that she wrote, the Transsexual, Transgender, Transhumanism, that we have, you know, that we're all now reading in the book club, in like my group. So I just wanted to get into her blog. She has a blog called The 11th Hour, and I just wanted to read from that. So she writes, "My new book, Transsexual, Transgender, Transhuman, Dispatches from the 11th Hour, a culmination of a decade of research on the powerful gender industry, has finally hit the press. My hope is that my book will help change the narrative of the gender identity phenomenon from a medical issue to one that recognizes we are witnessing the formation of a global cult or a virtual reality. What we're witnessing in the gender industry is a castration cult. Castration cults have been seen throughout history, and we are experiencing another one. What I am going to call transsexual transhumanism is a castration cult amped up on technology, transhumanist ideology, and fueled by profit. It has been introduced to the culture by forcing and controlling new language that obscures its origins in fetish and the sexual objectification of women. Transsexualism has been rebranded to transgender for marketing purposes and indoctrination. The transsexual transhumanist cult promises young people liberation from the normal angst their developing bodies experience as they are leaving childhood and entering adulthood. The construct of the gender-confused child who can be liberated through drugs and monstrous surgeries on their healthy reproductive systems was necessary to normalize the fetish of transsexualism to give men who want to be women access to social and political power. This power, alongside advancements in artificial reproduction, now allow men with a fetish of owning womanhood to usurp our reproductive capacities via tech. No longer content to appropriate our clothes, mannerisms, and synthetic facsimiles of our secondary sex characteristics, they are now attempting to literally dismember us and claim our reproductive capacities as their own through technology. These rapidly expanding reproductive technologies are poised to rearrange our species' borders. We are currently still a sexually dimorphic species, but with research and echogenesis creating embryos in a dish and large and small gametes from skin cells, there may come a time when we don't ever need to copulate to reproduce, and women will no longer gestate the species. Heterosexuality would become obsolete in this paradigm, as would same-sex attraction. We would be left with personalities alone, left to express ourselves however we like without being worried about recognizing another person's sex for reproduction or attraction. Hence, the introduction of the gender spectrum doctrine. This is the reproductive realm of transhumanism, which at its most elemental level is an opening of and commodification of the natural body and our fusion with technology and biotechnologies. We're not yet at the stage of a Black Mirror episode or the movie Blade Runner, but with CR, SPR technologies, AI, and human interfacing and advancements in the technological reproduction of our species, sans women, we're getting there. Children are being groomed for this future. They are being indoctrinated in schools to the idea that they can choose their sex and to see themselves as compartmentalized mix and match parts versus whole biological systems attached to and sustained by the natural world. They are being taught about reproductive technologies and surrogacy in grade school, that some families are created via technology. They are being taught that they can transcend their human bodies and that sexuality is a smorgasbord of acts having nothing to do with reproduction or intimate bonding. And they are being sexually traumatized into a state of dissociation. Women are being erased in language and law, and society overhauled to erase the sex differences to accommodate these advancing technologies and the continued objectification of women. The surrogacy and technological reproduction markets are already generating billions of dollars and steadily growing revenues. Collectively, they are projected to reach into the hundreds of billions by 2032. Children are not having a medical problem. They are having an indoctrination problem, and they are not alone. Adults and entire institutions are also being indoctrinated to accommodate technologies which can change our species' borders. The children and young adults caught up in this cult will obviously need medical attention for the rest of their lives. They will also, along with the same-sex attracted individuals, need reproductive technologies to have their own children. Positioning children indoctrinated to believe that they can choose their sex through technology under the LGBT civil rights banner is a means to provide legal structure for deconstructing reproductive sex, and it also creates a larger marketing constituency and a testing ground for these reproductive technologies. Over the past decade, I've written about myriad billionaires investing in this desexing cult. No one is more important to the creation of a global religious cult aimed at deconstructing sex than Martijn Rothblatt, a man with a severe God complex. Though he is only a multimillionaire and his philanthropic funding to this cult is scant, he is important for creating the cult doctrine of gender ideology, transsexual transhumanism, and seeing its infiltration into the medical, psychiatric, and technology sectors. He is an American tech entrepreneur and lawyer who calls himself a transsexual. I've dubbed him the founding father of the transgender empire for his pivotal role in manifesting an industry to support his fetish while advancing a narrative that we are creating God with technology. He is highly influential and renowned for his many accomplishments in the field of technology, satellite surveillance, biopharma, transplantation, 3D organ printing, artificial reproduction, the Human Genome Project, virtual reality systems, and AI. He is also a transhumanist who believes that we will literally create the species without women via technology. He lectures widely and thinks the organization of society around our reproductive system of male and female should be dismantled. He has helped organize the spread of a cult of castration through the LGBT political apparatus and into Western cultures. He is also the author of the first gender bill and has created a technological religion called Terasem, advocating freedom from form. His advocacy for LGBT rights are not for the acceptance of same-sex attraction, but for the deconstruction of the human sex binary, which same-sex orientation is now being positioned against as it is mixed up with an amalgam of medical identities based on sex, romantic expression, and disorders of sexual development. The ever-growing acronym of 2SLGBTQIAIS+ is being socially set up as a wear infraction against cis culture, the sexual binary. Rothblatt is now sitting on the board of the prestigious Mayo Clinic in the US. Powerful foundations and individuals are not only funding and promoting gender ideology, but also influence policies and cultural narratives through extensive networks and strategic investments, which I cover in my book. There are now over 200 transsexual organizations in 50 countries that seek to destigmatize a fetish which undermines the sex binary and women as half the human species. When the men of Silicon Valley, like Elon Musk, Yuval Harari, Mark Zuckerberg, Ray Kurzweil, and Martijn Rothblatt, and others talk about a future virtual reality, singularity, and a metaverse. This is what they are talking about. They have created a cult, an alternate reality, and are changing the perceptions we have of ourselves as species by their investments in the cult of gender identity or transsexual transhumanism, by overhauling society toward unisex social accommodations and sports, and by creating and forcing new language, dictates, and false concepts of our sex reality. A cult that indoctrinates large swaths of the population and all our cultural institutions, including and maybe especially the law, becomes a virtual reality. It's hard to imagine that what we're witnessing is an organized technological religious cult with eugenicist underpinnings. The single most important contribution to Hitler being able to continue his Holocaust against the Jews in Nazi Germany is that people would not allow themselves to believe it was happening. It was too terrifying. We don't see the attack on human sex characteristics with everyone turning a blind eye and supporting it outside of cults. It is the only thing that accounts for smart people believing that cutting off the breasts of young women because they feel like boys and the penises of young men because they feel like girls is progressive. It is blanket insanity and is being supported by the most powerful people in the world. It is organized, substantiated by lies, and fueled by money and power, again, all of which I cover in my book. If we look closely, we see the cult indoctrination all around us, the repetitive mantras and chants, the framing of those outside the cult as bigots and Nazis, and unwillingness to take in any information that conflicts with cult doctrine, no ability to rationally explain their own beliefs, a closed system, encouragement to leave family and friends behind, and gruesome attacks on people's healthy sex characteristics. It is time to change the conversation from one of people with gender dysphoria and gender identity made-up terms instituted by powerful people to hoodwink the public and children, to one acknowledging that we are up against a global theocratic cult. We are being indoctrinated. This entire narrative is corporately constructed, and it will not be undermined until we start facing the truth. And then she writes, you can purchase my book at Spinifex Press in Australia, order from your local bookstore, or from Amazon. I'm also going to link the book in the description of this video, so you can just click that and order yourself a copy. Let me know what you think about this blog. Let me know what you think about transhumanism and what Jennifer wrote about. Thank you so much for listening.